The knock hit just after midnight. Not soft, not polite. It was loud, urgent, like trouble was waiting on the other side. I opened the door in flannel pajama pants, heart already thumping. Two police officers stood there, straight-faced. "You own a black Escalade, sir?" the taller one asked. "Yeah," I said, slow and cautious, already feeling that cold ripple crawl up my spine. It was found abandoned off I-87. Engine still warm. No driver in sight. I did not have to ask where my wife was. I already knew. 3 hours earlier, I had gotten the alert, bank notification. Our joint account. Wiped clean. Every last cent. All $12,642.39. Gone in one big transfer. The name it went to? Travesty. Yeah, no joke. At first, I figured it was fraud. Called Emily. No answer. Sent a text. Nothing. Tried again. Straight to voicemail. And that was when my gut twisted up like barbed wire. I checked the location tracking app one had put on her phone years ago. She never knew it was there, just a safety thing. Or so I told myself. Turns out, my Escalade was headed upstate, past the city, deep into the mountains. I called again. Still nothing. So I sat there in the dark, staring at the floor, feeling the walls close in. My boy, Mason, he's 10, wandered out of his room, rubbing his eyes. He took one look at me and just curled up on the couch next to me. "It's okay, Dad," he whispered. I took care of it. Back then, I did not understand what he meant. I just hugged him tight and nodded. 3 days later, my phone lit up. It was her, Emily, screaming on the other end like a banshee. "Where's the money, Jason? Travis is going crazy. He said I lied to him. Where is it?" I let her rant for a minute, then hung up. Now let me rewind a bit. Emily used to be the kind of woman folks noticed when she walked into a room. Blonde hair, long legs, confidence that filled the air. When she laughed, it felt like you were the only person in the world. I thought I hit the jackpot. I thought she picked me. But after that promotion at her marketing job, something shifted. She started staying out late. Always texting. Spraying perfume just to go to the grocery store. She quit listening to me. Eyes glazed over like I was just background noise. And whenever I asked if something was wrong, she'd smirk and say, "Don't be so insecure, Jason. You sound like a little boy." Then came the cold nights, the headaches, the excuses. And the one time she came home smelling like cologne that sure as hell was not mine. Later, she would admit it. "Travis, her trainer. He understands me," she said. What I understood was that she left me with 20 grand in debt, emptied our account, and walked out like I was just another monthly bill she was done paying. But the worst part? She did not even say goodbye to Mason, her own son. That same night, Mason said it again. "It's okay, Dad. I took care of it." So I asked him what he meant. He smiled, this little grin I had never seen before, and handed me her old iPad. Open to an email. Subject line, "Final warning before legal action." Apparently, my kid had cracked her passwords weeks ago. He had hacked her email, locked her out, and forwarded everything to me. But that was not all. He also sent a message from her email to Travis. "Found out about the other guy. You can have her. I'm out. And the bank knows everything." 10 years old. Pulled off a move straight out of a legal thriller. And now? Now Emily was spiraling. Travis thought he had landed a cash cow, but when the money disappeared and the lies caught up, he dumped her. Probably drove off in his own car and left her stuck with nothing but excuses. Emily thought she was trading up. Turns out she was just crashing down. But I was not done. Not even close. 3 days after that meltdown phone call, I called in a favor. My buddy Nate, ex-Marine, now a private investigator. Gave him everything. Names, the route, patterns. 24 hours later, I had an address. Cheap motel off the highway near Albany. Room 213. I stood in that parking lot for a long while, just staring at the busted neon sign. I did not come to beg. I came to see the truth in her face. Knocked once. Nothing. Knocked again, louder this time. Emily. Opened the door. Heard some scrambling inside. Drawers slamming. Then finally, the door creaked open. She looked like hell. Eyes puffy. Hair a mess. Wearing one of my old hoodies. "Oh," she said like I was the one who had ruined her night. "It's you. Mind telling me why our son knows more about your mess than I do?" She actually laughed. Then stepped aside. "Come in, Jason. Let's get this over with." I stepped in, and it hit me. Cheap cologne, old whiskey, and that sour motel stench of betrayal. Her suitcase was wide open on the bed, wrinkled clothes spilling out. Vodka bottle empty on the nightstand. 2 glasses. You ran off with Travis, I said. Left me and your son in debt. Cleaned out the account. Now you're hiding in this hole. For what? Travis said he would pay it off. She shot back like it was nothing. That was the deal. Oh, deals now. Marriage must have been optional, huh? She shrugged and lit a cigarette. Inside, she knew I hated that. You never got it, she said. You were boring. Safe. Travis made me feel alive. Yeah? And where is he now? She froze, just for a beat, then tried to play it off. He'll come back. I laughed, bitter. No, he won't. He's gone. Took off when he realized you were lying about the money. You bet on the wrong man, Emily. She glared like I had just slapped her. You think you're better than me? Sitting in your little office, playing dress-up every day. Travis saw potential in me. No, I said. He saw an easy score. Just like I did. I turned to walk out. I was done. But then her voice followed. Mason's not as innocent as you think. I stopped cold. What did you just say? She smirked that same cruel smirk that used to break me. Your perfect little boy? He's manipulative. Like you. Always watching. You don't think it's strange how he got into my accounts? Do not talk about Mason, I said, jaw clenched. You gave up that right the moment you walked out that door. Then she dropped a bomb. Maybe I should tell you what he sent Travis before he disappeared. My blood froze. What did he send? She just grinned and picked up her phone. You'll find out soon enough. I left before I said something I couldn't take back. Slammed the door so hard the walls shook. I heard her laughing on the other side like she had already won. But this was no longer about her. It was about Mason now. 3 days later, a small brown package showed up on my porch. No return address. Just my name scribbled in black marker. I brought it inside. Set it on the table. Called Mason into the room. You order anything? He shook his head. Nope. But I saw a guy drop it off. Tall. Had a beanie. Didn't ring the bell. I opened it. Inside, wrapped in a paper towel, was a flash drive and a note. You should know who she really is before you keep playing the good guy. Don't say I didn't warn you. No name. No signature. I told Mason, go to your room, buddy. I'll call you for dinner. He nodded and wandered off. I plugged in the flash drive. 6 video files. Each dated from the past 3 months. First clip was from our own living room. Emily on the couch, wine glass in hand, wearing my hoodie, smiling like she had just won the lottery. No, baby, she said into the phone. He has no clue. Still thinks I am just stressed from work. Poor guy's looking into refinancing the house just to help me feel better. It is pathetic. She laughed. The second clip, our kitchen. She was whispering to Travis. We'll clean him out. Once the bonus hits, I'll shift the money. He won't see it coming. Travis pulled her close, smug. And then what? Then we vanish. Video after video, I sat and watched the woman I once loved destroy me like it was her full-time job. I was not angry. I was numb. But I knew one thing. This war was just beginning. When I got to the last video on that flash drive, I hesitated. The file was called The Kid. I clicked play. The camera had been set up in Mason's room. There he was, my boy, sitting at his desk with his headphones on, working on his little laptop like he always did. He looked peaceful. Then the door slammed open. Emily stumbled in, clearly drunk, eyes glassy, her balance off. You think you're smart, huh? She snapped, voice sharp and mean. Going through my phone. Spying on me. You don't get to do that, you little brat. Mason stood up. Calm. Steady. There was fear in his eyes, but he stood his ground. Didn't even blink. I'm not spying, he said softly. I'm protecting Dad. She slammed her hand down on his desk, knocking over a water bottle. You're just like him. Weak. Always watching. Always judging. And he stood there like a little soldier. His voice didn't shake. Dad still loves you, he said. That stopped her. For just a moment, something flickered in her face, shame, maybe guilt. But then it vanished, replaced by something cold and twisted. That's his problem, she muttered, before storming out and slamming the door. I just sat there, fists clenched so hard my nails dug into my palms. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. How long had this been happening? How many nights had Mason endured that kind of hate? He had seen everything, watched the woman who gave birth to him become a stranger. And he never said a word. I looked down at the flash drive still plugged into my laptop. My breath felt heavy. Emily thought she was playing some kind of game. She thought it was about money, or power, or lust. But she forgot the one thing that mattered most. Mason was not just my son. He was hers, too. And now, he was the one protecting me. I picked up the phone and called Nate. I want everything, I told him. Every place she stayed in the last month. Every burner phone. Every fake account. Anything with her name or any of her lies attached to it. Nate didn't miss a beat. You got it. You planning something? I looked out the window. The sun was dipping low, casting orange shadows across the lawn of a life I barely recognized anymore. Yeah, I said. It's time I stopped playing nice. I knew I couldn't beat her in court the old-fashioned way. Emily was slick. Always had a backup story. Always one step ahead. But what she didn't count on was who I had become or how much I had changed. The next morning, Nate called. She's holed up in an Airbnb outside of Poughkeepsie. Fake name, prepaid card, new burner. But she's texting someone. Travis again? Nope, he said. New guy. Dylan. Looks like she moved on. Again. Of course she did. So we set a trap. Legal. But brilliant. Nate helped me cook up a fake investment deal. A scam too sweet for Emily to ignore. I made a fresh email from a fake company. Told her we had access to a private real estate deal that needed fast, quiet funding and offered her a huge cut if she could help us move things discreetly. She bid. Didn't take her more than an hour to respond under a new name, Sophia Marks. Said she had connections, discretion, and experience in these sorts of things. Disgusting. I told her Sophia had to meet in person. My investor, played by Nate, only did face-to-face business. She agreed immediately. We picked the cafe carefully. Downtown, busy but quiet enough in the back. Cameras everywhere. Security. And just the right amount of witnesses in case things got loud. The day of the meeting, I showed up early. Hoodie. Cap sat in the far corner, hidden, watching through mirrored sunglasses. Nate was already there, leaning back in the booth like a man with money and options. Cool. Confident. Playing the role perfectly. Emily came in like she was walking into an audition. New dress, high heels, red lipstick. Fake smile painted on her face like everything she touched didn't rot underneath. She shook Nate's hand like she was sealing some big-time deal. They sat. I watched her flirt, exaggerate, like she had been doing it her whole life. Every word was being recorded. I can move funds quietly, she said. I've done this kind of thing before. I keep no paper trail. 10 minutes in, Nate asked about previous clients. She laughed. There was a guy, Travis. Got cold feet when things got serious. But I'm used to cleaning up messes. She chuckled like her lies were charming. That's when I stood up. Walked straight to their booth. She noticed me about 3 steps away. Her smile cracked, just for a second. Then she rolled her eyes. Well, look who finally found his courage. Funny, I said, sliding into the booth next to Nate. I could say the same about you. Except what you've got isn't courage. It's desperation. Nate calmly placed a small recorder on the table. Emily's face went pale. What is that? Insurance, I said. For every scam, every lie, every time you used our son as leverage. You set me up, she whispered. No, Emily. You set yourself up. I just brought the mirror. She lunged for the recorder, but Nate's hand clamped over it first. Don't, he said low and steady. People nearby started glancing over. Emily stood up, red-faced, shaking. You think humiliating me makes you some kind of hero? You have no idea what I've been through. What I gave up. I stood 2, barely a foot between us now. No, you have no idea what we've been through. Me. Mason. You walked out on your own, kid. Left us in a pile of bills. And now what? You're playing fixer for fake deals to feel important? She opened her mouth to throw more fire, but I didn't let her. You're not a queen, Emily. You're a gambler who ran out of luck. She stormed out. I was darting around, trying to save face. 2 guys followed her out, off-duty officers Nate knew from his time in the force. She wasn't being arrested, not yet. But she was being watched now. We had leverage, and I planned to use every ounce of it. Next morning, I got the email. From her lawyer. Just 1 sentence. My client is seeking full custody of Mason. I laughed loud. Alone in the kitchen. She had not called him. Had not texted. Had not even asked if he needed school supplies. But now she wanted him? It was not about love. It was about control. She wanted to win. Use Mason like a chess piece. So I called in my own attorney. Her name was Sandra. Sharp. Smart. A shark in heels. I had a feeling Emily was about to realize she picked the wrong fight. Sandra was the kind of lawyer who didn't smile unless she meant it, and she sure as hell did not sugarcoat. After she'd reviewed everything, videos, forged letter, The custody request, she looked me square in the eye and said, "She's not fighting for Mason. She's fighting for your peace. She knows she's lost you. Now she wants to shake what's left." She was right. That first court hearing was a circus. Emily showed up like she'd just walked out of some Pinterest board for grieving mothers. Soft cardigan, hair tied up neat, just the right touch of makeup to make her eyes look red from tears. Victim mode. She even dabbed her eyes with a tissue like it was a damn audition. When the judge asked why she hadn't seen Mason in weeks, she sniffled and said, "I was scared. He's been turned against me. Jason's manipulating him." I wanted to yell. I wanted to stand and throw the flash drive right on the judge's desk. But I stayed quiet. Sandra squeezed my arm like she knew I was on the edge. Then Emily played her next move. She handed the court a letter. Said it was written by Mason. During the recess, I stepped into the hallway and read it. My stomach flipped. It was shaky, messy handwriting, but it wasn't Mason's. I knew my boy's writing like I knew my own. This one was filled with lines like, "Dad scares me," and "Mom is the only one who ever made me feel safe." I took it straight to Sandra. "He didn't write this," I told her. "She made it up." She gave it a long look and nodded. "I believe you. But the court needs more than belief. We need proof." That night, I sat down with Mason in his room. He was building a spaceship out of Legos, humming to himself. Calm on the outside. But when I brought up the letter, I saw his shoulders go tight. "She told me to copy it," he said after a pause. "She wrote it and said if I loved her, I'd do it. I didn't want to. I cried, Dad. She yelled and said I'd never see her again if I didn't." He looked down at his hands, trying to hold it together. "She's not the same anymore." I wrapped my arms around him and held him close. That kind of hug that says, "You're safe. You're mine. I got you." We sent the letter to a handwriting analyst. I dug out every scrap Mason had written over the last year, birthday cards, old school projects, even grocery lists he scribbled for fun. The comparison came back 2 days before the next hearing. Forgery. Clear as day. Sandra filed it that same afternoon. The judge was not amused. "Miss Collins," he said sternly, "this court does not tolerate forged evidence, especially involving a minor. You've abused this court's trust and your own child's voice." Emily didn't look ashamed, just mad. Like Mason had betrayed her. Like I had dared to fight back. The decision came down fast. Full legal and physical custody granted to me. She'd get supervised visits, but only after passing a full psychological evaluation. As we walked out of the courtroom, I felt Mason's little hand wrap around mine. Emily followed behind us in heels that clicked like gunshots down the hall. She caught up just long enough to hiss, "You think you've won, Jason? This isn't over." I turned back, calm and steady. "No, Emily. You lost. You lost the only thing that ever mattered." She looked down at Mason, hoping for some kind of flicker, some glimmer of hope. But he just stared back, blank, unblinking, like she was a stranger on the street. And maybe she was now. Maybe she'd been one for a long time. A week later, things got quiet. Almost too quiet. Mason started sleeping better. He stopped checking the locks every night. He even laughed again, real laughs, the kind that shake their shoulders and make their eyes light up. For the first time in months, the house felt like a home again. But peace doesn't last when your past is still breathing. Late one night, Nate called. "You sitting down?" he asked. "Should I be?" "Probably. You remember I told you I had someone going through her financials?" "Yeah. Well, turns out your ex has been busy." He emailed me a report. Full breakdown of a hidden bank account under the name E. Marks, the same name she used when she tried to scam us with that fake investment deal. The account had been active for over 6 months. $48,000. Where the hell did she get that kind of money? "She didn't earn it," Nate said. "She collected it." He sent a list of deposit sources. Dozens of names, almost all male. Small payments at first, $500 here, $2,000 there. Then the numbers grew, and one name kept showing up over and over again. Dylan G. It hit me. That was the guy she'd been texting from the Airbnb. I thought he was just another fling, another Travis. But he wasn't. She had conned him. Fake consulting. Emotional manipulation. One message even said she needed $10,000 for an emergency surgery for Mason. That one nearly made me put my fist through the wall. She used our son. She told that man my boy was dying. I called Nate again. "Can you find this Dylan?" "I already did," he said. "He's in Virginia. Mid-30s. Software engineer. Divorced. Seems like a decent guy. They met on some elite dating app. Guess she picked her target carefully. I need to talk to him." You sure that's smart? I'm not gonna hurt him. He deserves the truth. 3 days later, I was standing outside Dylan's apartment. Flash drive in one hand, a folder full of documents in the other, and a knot in my stomach the size of a fist. He opened the door slowly. Can I help you? You don't know me, I said, but I think you know Emily Collins. His face drained, just like mine did, that first night I saw the truth. We talked for nearly 2 hours. I showed him everything. The messages, the fake bank account, the scams, the lies, the forged letter. He barely said a word for the first 20 minutes. Just stared at the papers like they were bricks falling on his chest. She said your son was dying, he whispered eventually. She said you ran out on them. I didn't. His eyes filled with tears. Not for her, for himself. For falling for it. For trusting someone who saw him as nothing more than a wallet with feelings. Thank you, he said. Thank you for telling me. He handed me one last thing before I left. A printout of a message Emily had sent just days before we cornered her at that cafe. Once I get full custody, I'll be set. His kid is the ticket. He'll fold. She had planned to use Mason like a pawn, to bleed me dry through the courts. This wasn't just a divorce. It wasn't even just betrayal. It was warfare. So I gathered everything, flash drives, financials, the fake identity files, and met with Nate and Sandra back at my place. We mapped it all out. Who to contact, which agency handled financial fraud, where to push for full criminal charges. Sandra wanted to go slow and by the book. Nate? He wanted to hit hard. Me? I just wanted it over. But right as we finished assembling the folder for the district attorney, Nate's phone buzzed. He read the message and his face went white. Do not freak out, he said. But Emily just checked into a psychiatric center in New Jersey. What? She walked into the hospital barefoot, screaming that her ex-husband and multiple lovers were trying to kill her. They thought she was high, but drug screen came back clean. She wasn't using. My stomach dropped. She's faking, I muttered. I thought so, too, Nate said. But there's more. Someone tried to break into her Airbnb. Smashed lock. Nobody inside. She ran straight to the hospital. That was not her usual con. This wasn't manipulation anymore. This was fear. And real fear doesn't lie. I picked up the phone. Called the hospital. Because this game was over, but the damage was still spreading. They would not let me speak to her. Said she was under a 72-hour psychiatric hold. Standard observation. No visitors. No exceptions. I told them I was her husband. They corrected me. Ex-husband. No contact listed. No rights. Fine. I didn't need to talk to her anyway. I needed the truth. So Nate and I drove straight to the Airbnb she had been staying at. It was a wreck. The front door was barely hanging on the hinges. The place smelled like panic sweat and cheap perfume. On the floor, shattered wine glass, broken burner phone, and a man's watch with an expensive leather strap. There were engraved initials on the inside. TD. Travis Davis. He had been there. I turned to Nate. He came back. But why? Nate muttered, scanning the scene like he was back overseas on recon. This ain't a robbery. Nothing's missing. Except her laptop and maybe a bag. Looks like she ran. From him, I said, and he was not finished. We tracked down a street camera from a small corner store across the road. Pulled the footage from 2 hours before she checked into the hospital. Sure enough, a black Camaro rolled up slow to the curb. Out stepped Travis. Same greasy hair, designer jacket, sunglasses at night. He stood there like a statue for 15 minutes. Then suddenly, he kicked the door in and went inside. 7 minutes later, Emily came flying out the door barefoot. Sprinting like the devil was chasing her. Travis followed, stopped right at the curb, and just stood there. Did not chase. Did not yell. Just watched her run. Then, calm as a preacher, he turned around, got back in his car, and drove off. We watched that footage 3 times. What the hell is this? I muttered. Nate zoomed in on the license plate. This guy's got deeper issues than I thought. He left her, but clearly he is not finished with her. Back at my place, I found something new in the mailbox. Plain white envelope. No return address. Just my name, scrawled in thick black ink. Inside, a single photograph. Emily, asleep in a bed I did not recognize. She looked peaceful, alone, vulnerable. On the back of the photo, just one line. You think she's the only one lying? No signature. No clue who sent it. The picture itself wasn't a threat. It was a message. A warning. A hint that Emily might not be the only one playing games. That maybe someone else had been pulling the strings all along. Someone watching from the shadows. And now? Now I was not sure who the real threat was. That night, I did not sleep. Not from fear, just from the feeling that something deeper, something uglier, was still beneath the surface. The next morning, I dropped Mason off at school like everything was normal. Gave him a kiss on the head, told him I would be there at 3:30 sharp. But as I watched him walk through those double doors, my stomach twisted. I made a call. "Nate," I said, "I need to find Travis. Today." "You're in luck," he replied. Already tracked him. Downtown apartment, leased under a shell company he created 3 years ago. Top floor. I paused. "Is he dangerous?" "No. He is worse," Nate said. "He's smart." 2 hours later, I was standing outside an upscale apartment complex. Nate had already worked his magic with the front desk. I was buzzed in. "Unit 1204. I knocked once. Nothing. Knocked again. Door opened. Travis stood there, hair still slicked back, but the confidence was cracked. His eyes were bloodshot. His hand trembled ever so slightly. "Jason," he said, with a slow, crooked grin. "Took you long enough. I want answers. Then come in." The apartment was sharp, cold, and modern, but what hit me like a punch to the gut was the wall inside. Covered in photos. Me. Mason. Nate. Emily. Surveillance style. Grocery stores. Parking lots. Courthouses. Random street corners. What the hell is all this? He poured a drink, sipped it like it was water. "This," he said, "is the house your wife built. I just kept the blueprint. She said you disappeared." "Oh, I did," he smirked. "After she drained my accounts, lied about who she was, and promised we'd vanish together." He handed me a folder. Bank records. Wire transfers. Dummy charities. She had been rerouting funds from me for years. Not just Dylan, not just flings me. Her own husband. "You were getting robbed long before she left," Travis said. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because she used me." Same script. Told me we were going to start over, build a new life. But she had 3 other men in the same fantasy. Once I found out, I stayed quiet. Watched. Waited. Took back what I could. "You broke into the Airbnb." "Damn right," he snapped. "She had something of mine." "What?" He stared out the window for a long beat before saying, "My name." She used his identity in a scam overseas. Something big. It went sideways, and his name got flagged. He had been spending the last year scrubbing it off Interpol's radar. "Even the criminals don't want her now," he said. Then he handed me a flash drive. "Everything," he said. "Ledger, names, accounts. Take this to the right office, and she'll be radioactive. Forever." I took it, heavy in my hand, loaded with every ounce of truth I'd been searching for. He walked me to the door and stopped me one last time. "You want advice, Jason?" "Not really." He smirked. "Then here it is anyway. Don't waste your anger. That woman is a black hole. You throw fire at her, she'll just swallow it. You want to win? Stop feeding her chaos." I left without saying another word. Back home, I sat in the dark with that flash drive in my palm. Turned it over again and again. Thought about court, about justice, about sending her away for good. And then I heard it, Mason's laugh down the hallway. Playing some game. Happy. Safe. That was the win dot. Not revenge dot. Not courtrooms. Peace. And so, I walked to the fireplace, dropped the flash drive in, and watched it melt. The smoke curled up like a ghost finally leaving the house. Emily was done dot. And she was no longer my problem.